Hi, good morning, and thank you for joining me today on this virtual designer talk about coping designs. My name is Linda Abbott, and I'm the Senior Architectural Design Consultant for StoneHardscapes. I've been in the industry for over 20 years. I love creating outdoor spaces. And my ultimate goal today is to make the specification of the different materials to be used for coping easy for you. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on the slides. Our webinar goals for today is to maximize the quality of your overall project, create awareness of the benefits and disadvantages of the various material options, and proactively address potential issues with those materials. So why is it important to use a smaller coping size when you're working on a project? A lot of designers like to use the larger coping formats, which are absolutely beautiful, but they don't always work. So I'm going over the first slide with you on the left. The picture on the left shows you the smaller coping stones that are used. And on the back end of the pool, there wasn't enough space to create more of a paver design without overcompensating and creating a hard look to the backyard. So they added grass and used the smaller coping stones. And when they did that, it softened the space. On the right-hand side, a 6x12 coping was used to accommodate the radius of the pool. So when there's a lot of radiuses going on in the pool, we need to use a smaller coping stone so that the overall project's design comes out nice and clean. So that's showing you a 6x12. So why would we ever use a 12x12 coping size? When I look at plans, I see a lot of landscape architects and designers that specify a 12x12 coping. I really think that it's because they're used to specifying a 12x12 coping, but it's not actually beneficial to the overall project's design in every case. So I wanted to kind of go over that with you. On the picture on the left, it shows it on a rectangular pool. Using a 12x12 coping on a rectangular pool doesn't make any sense per se, because the cost per linear foot of a 12x12 is equivalent to the same cost per linear foot if you were using a 12x24. On the right-hand side, it's showing you a 12x12 on a radius pool. When you're looking at this picture, you can actually see the squareness of that 12x12 because they weren't able to get the radius right using such a large piece. That's why those 6x12s come in handy when you're doing more of the radius style pools. So why would we use a larger coping size? Well, it's pretty obvious here. The larger coping stones in this rectangular pool creates a more elegant look. So you could use a 12x24, a 12x36, or custom longer pieces to really make that pool stand out and look more elegant. In this picture, I'm showing you a contemporary style pool on the right-hand side. The use of a 12x24 by 1¼ inch bullnose was used. Typically, we think of bullnose as being more traditional, but in the sense of using it in the 1¼ inch thickness, it still creates a low profile modern look. So I wanted to share that with you. If you were trying to create a budget-friendly pool deck, you can do that using the paver as the coping. In this pool picture, it shows a 16x24 tumbled paver being used as the coping, as well as the stair treads. So when you use a paver as the coping, it is less expensive than using a true fabricated bullnose. Here is a picture of the 12x36 by 2 inch in a square edge coping. When I say square edge, I'm actually talking more of an eased edge where it's a softer edge on the top and the bottom. So it's not a rectified hard edge and it won't be an issue in a pool design. The 2 inch thickness gives it more of a beefy edge profile and just looks really nice and elegant on modern and traditional style pools. Here I'm showing you the bullnose in the 2 inch thick coping, usually used more so nationally, and it has a more traditional feel to it and an elegant look. The 24 by 36 coping is super popular when we're dealing with pools that are being closed for the winter. The automated pool covers need a place to anchor, and they need thicker and bigger coping pieces to do so. So the 24 by 36 inch by 2 inch coping pieces will allow for the automated pool covers to go up underneath it. And so the one side would have the 24 by 36, while the other 3 sides of the pool would have a 12 by 36 matching coping that will go very nicely on the overall design of the project. When it comes to porcelain, so as a manufacturer of porcelain as well as natural stone materials, I wanted to share this with you. The 3/4 inch porcelain is popular now for pool deck applications as pavers, and it comes and they sell the bullnose pieces to go with it. However, the factories that make the pavers is not necessarily the same factory that produces the bullnose. So when they come from different factories, the colors aren't going to be an exact match a lot of the times. So I'm showing you here the bullnose pieces that are on top of the pavers here, and you can see that the bullnose themselves are lighter in this instance. On the right-hand side, when you're using the porcelain pavers and you don't want a bullnose edge, so you use the paver as the actual stair tread or coping piece, you have to note that there is an exposed edge that is here. It doesn't have a finished all the way through color, so that exposed edge will be a different color since it is a man-made product. So I wanted to make you aware of that. Because sometimes you don't want to use the bullnose and you want to use a square edge, but you have to keep that in mind. So the overall finished product of the design does not come out quite as finished as you anticipated. So I talked a little bit about the porcelain cons. There are some porcelain pros. It does create a very modern look to the deck, which is what a lot of designers are going for today. That low profile edge gives it a very modern feel, and the color consistency throughout the deck is going to be better overall. The color is from one stone to the next is cleaner and more solidified. The non-porosity of the porcelain paver is also a plus to a lot of clients because they want to do as little maintenance as possible. But there are some cons to that. When you sand set a rectified porcelain paver, if that porcelain paver shifts from the sand underneath it, it could create lippage across the deck. And when there's lippage across the deck, you can easily cut yourself on that square edge of the porcelain paver. So little kids running on the deck can easily split their toe open. So when it comes to porcelain, I definitely recommend a mud set application versus a sand set application. It'll save a lot of headaches from having any medical bills down the road. It is harder to cut, so installation costs go up. A lot of the installers charge more for installation because they have to go through so many diamond blades to get those cuts done. So keep in mind that there's a higher cost involved from the installer due to using different tools that are needed, as well as needing to mud set the deck versus sand setting the deck to have a better finished project. In regards to concrete pavers and concrete coping, concrete coping is been around for a long time. The cost for concrete pavers is typically less expensive, and it has a thicker profile edge on it already, which a lot of clients like. The pavers themselves are also great for vehicular. I know we're talking about coping, but I just wanted to point that out in regards to some pros for concrete. Some of the cons is that there's dial-out variation in the stone itself. And if you wanted to add on in the future to your concrete paver deck, you're not going to be able to find that exact same color. It does get extremely hot from the sun, and the colors do fade. So you're continuously maintaining the deck by color enhancing and cleaning and sealing the deck on a regular basis, which ends up costing more down the road. And then the concrete pavers also create some damage to bathing suits when you're sitting on the coping. It's easy to snag bathing suits, so a lot of females don't like that very much. And then the overall design concept of concrete pavers is outdated today. So using porcelain and natural stone is a more modern option. Let's talk a little bit about infinity style pools. Our known information about infinity style pools is when the paver itself in the field is cohesive with the pool's water's edge. The infinity style pool here shows you the overflow that exists and how the deck and the coping area and the pool are all one level. That's our typical known information about what an infinity style pool looks like. And then also the negative edge design concept that is used by using paver drains. I'm showing this to you so you can get an idea of what we typically know to be infinity style or negative edge design. In South Florida, there's a version of what they call infinity style or negative edge. There's no true defined coping to separate the pool's edge and the decking. They actually use the pavers as the coping all the way up to the edge of the pool. Some pros to that is that if you have a project with a smaller size deck, it doesn't define the coping around the pool and make the deck look smaller. It actually makes the deck look a little bit larger by doing this. But the cons is that you have to have an installer that knows what they're doing, that has an artful design when it comes to making sure that the coping pieces inside the pool are nice and smooth, and they need to know how to lay it properly in order to do that. So to get a good qualified installer that knows how to create this design is very difficult, and the overall project's design can come out terrible if it's not done correctly. Drop face custom coping. This is a fairly beautiful looking concept that we actually did here at the Seminole Hard Rock expansion project. That 4-inch drop face creates a really nice, strong, elegant look to the overall project's design, and it is an option when you're creating your pool deck and coping. So I wanted to make you aware of that because it's a really nice look. So now I wanted to go over best practices. Again, that's the proactivity of addressing potential issues and creating a beautiful natural stone project. The most important is knowing how to blend the stone. When you're working with natural stone, you need to blend the stone. If you don't blend the stone properly on the deck, you will get splotches of darks and lights, and the overall project's design will not come out nice. Method 1 shows you stone that has been blended. Method 2 shows you the same exact stone, not blended. So if that happens on a deck, the project doesn't come out nice. So what we recommend is when installers are pulling from the crates, they are pulling from 4 to 5 crates at a time and blending the stone. You need to do this for interior and exterior in order to make that natural stone project look beautiful. So I wanted to share that with you. The finished project of this using the same material shows you that when the stone is blended, the lights and dark are intertwined and you do not see dark patches of light and dark everywhere. When you are dealing with the ledgestone veneers that come in boxes, I wanted to show this to you to ask you, can you identify the problem with this veneer installation? I see it clearly, do you? When you are pulling from the boxes, in this particular case, there's 6 ledgestone veneers in each box. If you are going box to box, you will end up with an installation that looks like this. You could see the darks on top, the lights are on the bottom. That is not a well-blended wall using the ledgestone veneers. So in this instance, they had to rip everything off the wall and start over again. In order to make that not happen for your installers, it is very important that we blend the stone. So I wanted to share that with you because these are potential issues that can happen if you don't blend the stone properly. White mortar is very important to use with all of the lighter colored stones. When you're working with natural stone, it is a porous material. And if you are not using a white mortar to set your coping pieces, you will have issues that occur, such as what I'm showing you here, which are dark spots that come up through the stone. If you're using a gray-based mortar to do this, these are some of the problems and issues that can arise. So to avoid that, you want to use a white mortar. Pool beam widths. So there's so many different pool beam widths that are done out there, from 6 inches to 12 inches. So the right coping piece needs to be placed on the pool, on the beam, so that you don't have potential issues. The issues that I'm referring to is the cracking of the coping. If you have a 6-inch beam and you want to use a 12 by 24 pool coping, you have to understand that you have to either backfill the pool where the beam is so that it can accommodate the 12 by 24. Otherwise, it can crack. When you're doing a sand set application, butting up to the coping that is mud set, if you step on that 12 by 24 coping on a 6-inch pool beam width, that piece can crack. So you need to backfill to accommodate that 12-inch depth, or use a different size coping piece to accommodate that 6-inch pool beam width. So now I wanted to show you just some options that coping are used for other than pool coping. Fire features are a good way to use the pool coping. The pool coping and the fire feature itself, when you use the same material, creates a really nice cohesive overall project's design. Here's another example of a fire feature being used. The pavers and the coping match on the fire feature, which looks very cohesive on the deck. Stair treads come in a variety of sizes, from 2-inch thick to 1¼ inch thick, and you can use 12 by 24 for your pool coping, and then also use that on the stair treads as well, and it really pulls everything together nicely. The planter wall caps look great using coping. It creates a nice finished look on the overall project's design. So I wanted to share that with you because we actually did that at the StoneHardscapes building. Wall caps is another useful way of using pool coping, and it matches the pavers. It just creates an overall project design that's very cohesive. So I wanted to share that with you as well, just to give you some ideas. So if anybody has any questions, you can feel free to ask now. I have also added my email address down below, or if you would like to give me a call, you could do so as well. I appreciate you taking the time to listen to this webinar, and I thank you very much. And until next time, stay healthy and stay creative. Thanks so much. Have a great day. Bye-bye.